Welcome to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and the founder of the Write Your Own Story company. Girl, I can tell you right now, you are definitely enough. Here we value service, sisterhood, connection, laughter, and that super genuine, keep it real, tell you like it is honesty. My hope is at the end of each episode, you realize you can do whatever it is you dream about and that you are not alone with what you struggle with. I'm hoping that you are snapping and clapping and hell yes in your way through each one of these episodes. So if this tracks with you, let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome everyone to the next episode of the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and I am so excited to have a dear friend of mine, Jen Bahl, here with me today from Have a Ball. Jen, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Oh, this is so fun. I know. I'm so excited. Okay, so Jen has her own sort of table styling business, which we will absolutely get into. But of course, this girl shows up with an actual picnic basket full of goodies. So for those watching on YouTube, you can catch little glimpses of it, and I will share on Insta as well. But there are candles, there are flowers, there is wine. We are having a good time. I'm not going to tell you what time it is in the morning, but there's wine. We're doing it.
Yeah, this is definitely worth celebrating.
I was like just so excited to hang out with her this morning. And of course, you show up with a whole amazing tablescape. So thank you for bringing that. You're awesome.
Absolutely.
So I want to start off, as I like to with every start of the episode, to really share what my intention is. And that really is, I think, the impetus behind your business. I don't even know if I said that word right, but we all get it, is
Sounds
that
good.
you have gone through life really and have experienced things where you have been inspired to make every moment count. And as your friend, I get to sort of see this from afar. And I feel like you are so great at that. And that is really how you live your life and sort of how you have set up your business. And so I want that to be the common thread for people today, to really take away from this, that I hope you feel inspired to make every moment count.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay. So how I know Jen, let's start there. Jen and I met at an organization called Kindervelt, which is in Cincinnati. I think it's just Cincinnati. It might be nationwide. I don't know. Sorry about that, Kindervelt, if you're nationwide, but we're doing our best here. And the chapter is for our neighborhood. And where I am often so loud and so outspoken, and I just can't help myself. I just got all the biggest energy. Jen is so often the quiet observer in the room. And so one day, I think I was a year into membership. And of course, she's like gorgeous. So I see her from afar. I'm like, she's pretty.
Oh my God.
But then all of a sudden they get up we host like a marquee event for the year to raise money for Cincinnati Children's. And Jen stands up there, I've never seen her speak before, with a huge binder and says out loud, I'm really nervous. I don't like to speak in public. And then continues to run the meeting like an actual boss. You were like, this is how we're doing it. This is how it runs down. This is the setup. This is what I need from you. You're in charge of this. And like, I fell in love right there.
Oh, good. Well, I was very prepared. I was there on a mission.
That is a Jen-ism for sure. Over prepared. And I am the same way. To prepare for this podcast, which is just two girls chatting, we did so much pre-work because that's important to us.
It makes everything, I feel so much more comfortable and relaxed if I'm prepared. If you catch me off guard or in a situation, I just need to process. I cannot go off the cuff. Something just about my personality.
I could absolutely tell that in the meeting. I was like, okay, this girl. And I was like, I think I love her. Like I literally, because she has her act together. She takes no names and she says what she's afraid of out loud, which I think is so important for women. And she's a boss. So I was like,
and hopefully it came across nice too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, this girl is just organized and kind and humble, but like also nobody runs a meeting like Jen Bahl runs a meeting. Okay. It was so good. It was so good. Okay. So usually at the top of these, I like to get into bios and accomplishments because I want to just set up the meeting with a little bit of the story. But I'm going to save Jen's bio for the meat of the conversation because I think it does a really nice job of setting up sort of the ebbs and flows in life and pivots and how she wrote her own story. So we'll get into that. But Jen, give me one or two accomplishments. And the reason I'm making, and honestly, I want more, but if you're like, oh my God, now I can't remember them, which I totally understand. I think this is so important for women to share their accomplishments. And I just want to set the stage with so much, like, it is not performative. It is not about accolades. Like, I just want women to be more proud of themselves. And so when I say accomplishments, what are some of the things that you've done in life, little or big moments that you're proud of? Because I want other women to hear that.
Okay. So when you asked me that question, I was like, oh, shoot, I'm stumped because I don't have I didn't play sports. I don't have any, actual certificates or
No trophies
medals
sitting at
or
home.
no, none of that. No. But the thing that kept coming to mind, and I think I said this to you, that most of my accomplishments have been in this later half of my life, which is kind of eye-opening. But I would have to start with my kids, and not to gloat, or maybe that's not the right word, but not to speak about them. They're not perfect by any means.
No one is.
I have a 13, 11, 9, and 7-year-old, and they're just great kids.
Yeah.
Like, they really are. They're so well-rounded. Probably goes into the fact that my husband and I are very different in how we raise them. So together, they just have like a really good, well-rounded personality. They're compassionate. They're driven.
Yeah.
They're just really good kids. So
and for someone in your community, I can attest to that. And what I also am so proud of you for as a friend is I see how intentional you and Jeff are as parents. And like, I think that is a huge accomplishment.
Yeah. And I think, Jeff and I are so different. He's a very loud dad. He's hands-on in sports. He can do that side of things. And then I bring to the table like the quieter side, where the kids come to me and they want to talk to me about what's going on, and I will give them space to kind of grow. So together, like, I just feel like we've been a really great team. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And then I think the other big accomplishment, which is recent, is that last year I was like 50% responsible for raising about $20,000 to put defibrillators around our town, because we were lacking them in like some of our sports complexes. And I have a daughter who at the time had a heart condition that needed to have a defibrillator with her. So knowing that we didn't have them at like the soccer fields in town, I decided that we could do an event. So we're doing a daddy-daughter dance to raise money for these defibrillators, and people showed up. We raised $20,000 in like 2 weeks, and that was like $25 donations here and there. So if you do the math, like we were grinding to get the money. So then we had this big event to celebrate with the daddies and the daughters dancing, and we're doing it again, and we're in the middle of it right now, and we sold out in 5 minutes.
So not only have you seen a need, it had a personal connection, and like some people would be like, okay, gosh, maybe I'll just hound the town to make sure that they get the defibrillators. And you're like, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself.
Well, that, or, I think a lot of people are like, well, I'll just write a check. If you're able to do that, I'll just write, I'll fund, but really for me, it was more about making everyone in our community know that one, we don't have them. Two, the fire department was trying to raise money and they were having a hard time, which was surprising. So it all kind of worked out. But the awareness portion of fundraising and doing things like that is just as important as writing a check. So getting the word out through social media about the fact that we needed these was so much work, but it was so fulfilling. And then to do it again this year,
and sell out in 5 minutes.
And then we had to go negotiate a bigger venue to bring in 3 times the amount of people.
I think that it's the beautiful marriage of you have a need and you want to involve the community and you want to celebrate what all is good in the community. And then you also are a super smart businesswoman and you're like, okay, I know how to run an event at a lean cost and to raise awareness and tug on heartstrings and give back to the community in a way that's so important.
And that's the key. So my accomplishment here is being able to give back to my community and leave it better than I found it. So that one I was like, damn, that was pretty awesome.
Yes, queen. It is awesome. You should literally and your kids are watching.
And the kids and they were involved. Yep. So that was the other thing. They were hustling for money too.
Right?
So it was so good.
It's awesome. It's so important. And these are amazing lessons to leave behind. Okay. I love those accomplishments.
Okay.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
And for a million other things. Also, we got got dressed and got makeup on and are here and are prepared. And like, it's just the little things.
It's the little things. And
Yeah.
I think I told you, like on my way over, my puppy puked all over my car. I was like, I had to be somewhere in 30 minutes.
It's like the puppy knows. And they're like, haha, here's life. That's just literally how it goes. And of course I was like, well, this is great because I'm still in my pajamas preparing for this. And I needed to clean my kitchen and throw on some makeup. And here we are.
Yeah.
We did it.
Never be afraid to ask for more time.
I know. Never be afraid to ask for more time. Okay. So I would love to start. I'm just going to like come snuggle and look at you. Tell me about, I love your professional journey. You're all good. So I think you and I actually started in sort of a similar way. And I love sort of hearing how you started coming out of college and really sort of how you got to here and what really the ebbs and the flows of your professional journey were, because I think so many people will be able to relate to just the categorical ebbs and flows of life.
Sure. So, well, this is like one of my favorite stories to tell just because it was probably the single most pivotal moment in my life. But when I went to college, my parents were married, maybe not happily married. And while in college, they got divorced. And what was my home life as I knew it was kind of falling apart. And I remember thinking like, all right, I've got to find a way that I'm not moving back home to, my parents were living in different states, different homes. It was so unrecognizable. They're wonderful people. It's just that I did not want to go back into this very different world. So
I love that.
I want to move to New York City. That was my goal. I was in college in Philadelphia. And so I somehow landed an internship at Glamour magazine.
Somehow landed. I'm sure you worked your ass off and got it.
Well, it was an ex-boyfriend's friend who was working there.
Who got you the connection, but you landed the job.
Yeah, she was pretty fabulous. Her name was Ginger.
Thanks, Ginger. Thanks for getting us started, Ginger. You're the best.
So I was her intern for, I think, 3 summers. So I would go from Philadelphia to New York City for the summer, live at FIT dorms, and I got paid. I mean, that's like an unheard of thing.
Unheard of. None of my internships were paid in college.
And that was the only way I could do it because my parents did not have any money to shell out for any of my,
New York City
adventures.
living.
No.
Yeah.
So I go into my senior year. I think that I've been given a job opportunity at Glamour. So I save up my graduation money to move to New York City. And I get to the city. And meanwhile, this is also part of the story. So there's 4 of us, 4 girlfriends that are moving to the city. And none of us have any money. So we rent a 1-bedroom apartment with a closet. My girlfriend and I shared the bed.
No.
The other girlfriends slept in the closet. And the third girlfriend slept on the couch. But we each paid $400.
Oh my God. That is amazing.
I had probably 2 months rent saved up. So I was like, all right, I'll get the job and I'll get some money in my bank account and things will be cruising and I am off to the races. Well, I get there and she was no longer working for Glamour and therefore I no longer had a job.
Oh my God. Ginger left Glamour?
Well, I don't even actually know whatever happened to Ginger, but she was no longer with the company and I think on her own terms. But
sure.
So then I had like an oh fuck moment. Like I have to make this work and I have 2 months to figure this out because I have $1,000.
My stomach hurts. Oh my God.
So, back then, like we didn't have apps for this. So you had to like go through Women's Wear Daily. You had to go on Craigslist to find a job.
Yes, literally.
And my uncle, who was in the fashion industry in some capacity, was like trying to help me out too. And he called me one day. He said, I've got an interview for you. It's not what you're looking for, but you got to do this. So He got me an interview with the CEO of Nautica.
All the way up to the CEO?
Well, she was looking for an executive assistant. And he said, you got to start somewhere.
Oh my God, your devil's where's
it was 1,000% devil. I mean, if you, as I tell you. So
yes, I want to hear more.
She came from Donna Karan. She was a badass, like this teeny little petite lady. And she was a total badass, but she had a history of like bringing young girls in out of college and kind of grooming them to like get a better job in the industry. So
that's
she was
amazing.
Incredible.
And into mentorship.
And so I go in for the interview. I'm like so nervous, wearing like my express, tight skirt and all that,
literally.
And she's in Chanel and
you're like, I'm on budget.
Yeah. So budget. And so then she said, we have a good interview. And I thought, I don't know. So I walk out going to get the bus home. And Sean from HR comes running out of the building and he says, Jen, can you come back? She wants to talk to you some more.
Oh my God.
I have some good news and some bad news. And I was like, okay. He said, the good news is she wants to hire you. I was like, okay. The bad news is, can you start tomorrow? And I was like,
yes. Actually, that's great news because I'm
When do I
running out of
get
money.
paid?
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So I start the next day, and she was very set in her ways. Very Devil Wears Prada, in the best possible way. She just
Right.
she just had her ways.
Right.
So
She had a
was
very
like,
formulaic way to groom people, I bet.
yeah, and so she had specific things she wanted me to wear, which was fine. I was just
Oh my God, like what?
Like she wanted me to look like her, so like the pencil skirt and like the blazer.
Are you funding this?
I know.
wardrobe?
Well, I was like, well, H&M,
Right. Here I come. Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
Yep.
And so she did not want, this is where this all parlays, but so she didn't want to have like plastic utensils or plates or anything in her office. So I would have to go to Starbucks every day and get her a cafe misto and pour it into a mug and then put the froth on top and bring it into her office every day.
Can you drink a cafe misto?
No. Well, no, not even a chance.
I knew it.
So then, and then she also had an egg white omelet, no cheese, only spinach every day on a plate with like a hand rolled like napkin. Now, it sounds ridiculous.
Did you have to plate the omelet?
Yes.
Did you have to make
I
the
hate
omelet?
eggs.
Right.
Like I hate eggs. I've
Eggs.
never liked eggs. I was like, So like week 1, she's having a board meeting and it's all these executives around this big board room. And I walk in and I'm bringing her misto with her extra froth and I bring it to the table. I spill it all over her.
Oh my God.
All over her. And
All over her?
All over her.
Oh my God. It's one thing to get it on the table.
Her Chanel. So I was like mortified and she was so nice. She was like, I'm going to need you to go to my apartment and I'm going to need you to get me a new outfit.
Oh my God.
On Park Avenue. And so these were some of the like things that were going on. But
that is literally from Devil's Wears Prada. You had to go get the manuscript or whatever it was from her apartment.
Oh yeah. Well, one time I sent her to the wrong airport. This was amazing.
Wait, you have to tell this story. I'm dying to hear this story because like I've done things when I lived in New York, I've sent the wrong email to a whole distribution list that was half written. I spilled coffee all over myself. But these are the things that young girls who are literally paying for their lunch and change are absolutely terrified of happening. And I need to know what happened with the airport.
So, she traveled all the time and I was responsible for her travel.
Yeah, like booking
so
her travel.
If you're familiar with New York City, there's 3 airports, Newark, LaGuardia, and JFK. Well, it's a Friday night and she's going international somewhere. And I get her out into her black town car. Off she goes to the airport. I go, probably the Joshua Tree to like go drink with my friends.
Yep. I love Joshua Tree.
And she calls me like 2 hours into my drinking and said, Jennifer, I am at the wrong airport. I'm at the wrong airport. I need help. And she was so awesome. But I need help. And she didn't know how to like get herself.
Right. She had always had people to book for her. So she's
so
like
I
literally
had to come out of the Joshua Tree and like get her rerouted off to it. All worked out. But, talk about anxiety and stress. It was so stressful.
Like that one would get me good.
That got me good. And so, but, all things considered, she was awesome and such a mentor. And she one thing that happened in the job, which transpired, was that she really liked to set really lovely lunches for her big board meetings.
Yeah.
And I just like loved it. So I would go in and I would like pull china from the closets at Nautica and, set these beautiful like buffets. And it happened every week, multiple times a week. So,
and I'm sure no one was expecting that. You were like, I just love this and I just want to be extra. And this is where I can really like.
Totally. And they're all men. They're like, give me my sandwich in my bag.
Right.
Like,
Totally. Yeah.
Appreciate it, nor did they care. But I was like living for it.
Yeah.
And so
I put your aba pan on a beautiful china plate. Yeah.
So today's lunch is going to be inspired by the sea. So anyway, so when 2 years ago into this job, she says, I had to talk to her because I wasn't making enough money to like, have any kind of lifestyle. So I said, I'm going to either have to get a raise or, and that conversation is.
Oh my God. I just started sweating. And for someone I know you and I can't imagine.
Yeah. It probably turned bright red.
I'm sure you were very
loved
prepared,
it. And she was expecting it. And she was like, all right, let's talk about like, what about this job that you love the most? And he said, this is going to sound so trivial, but I love setting those lunches. And she's like, I think you have something there. And so a few weeks forward, she gives me this wonderful job, head of events and sponsorships. So you go from executive assistant to running a department. Well, I was a silo. It was me.
Department of one, but you started a department.
It's a job that wasn't there. She created it for me, and it ended up just being so fun. And
can we pause for 1 second because you earned that?
Well, I did hustle.
Yeah, heck yeah, you did. And like, I think I had that's like, we have these moments where we're like, we produce, we do, we think, but like, you literally had this woman who put you out of your comfort zone and made you ask for a raise. And you know, she was intentional about that.
For sure.
And then also, you proved yourself enough that she was willing to create a position for you based on what you wanted for your career in a giant company where, like, for those of us who have worked at giant companies, positions just don't get created. That requires a massive amount of budget, approval, like corporate ladder, all the things. And that just poofed out of nowhere. You proved yourself and you earned that job. So putting that on the accolades list.
I'll take that.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt your flow. So you are now creating the department of events and sponsorship at Nautica.
Yeah. And I worked best by myself, so it was great. And then, but then, you know, I met my husband and I got pregnant. And frankly, it was a pay grade, you know, a pay increase of salary. But when I started doing the math on salary versus paying a nanny so that I could get said salary, it was a complete wash.
Right.
And I was traveling a lot. And I just decided, like, you know, if I'm going to do this mom thing, you know, Jeff's cruising in his career. Like, I think I'm going to just take advantage of that and give this mom thing a shot.
I love that. And I think it's so important for women to just do whatever you want to do. And if you are fortunate enough to have the opportunity to be able to, you know, take a step back and not have to earn income and raise those babies, and if that's what's on your heart, that is so awesome to do it.
Yeah, the hardest job ever. But yeah,
literally the hardest job ever. Oh my God, those younger days too.
Yeah,
well,
no, the kids feel so much better. As I know we'll get into it.
Yes.
Like, it gets so much better.
It gets so much better. Okay, so you are literally crushing it, and then you're like, you know what? Plot twist. I just want to stay home with my baby.
Yeah, I just want to stay home. And then we realized, like, New York City wasn't necessarily how we wanted to raise our kids. I grew up in, well, I moved a lot growing up, but I grew up in the suburbs, and Jeff grew up here in Cincinnati. So it was getting too much with 2 kids, a 5-floor walk up, you know, the city.
Oh, you had 2 kids at this time. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 2 kids.
Yeah.
So we just decided Cincinnati was probably a really good move. And I've moved so many times, it wasn't scary for me, but we moved here about 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh. That's wild. Here you are. Okay. So now you're leaning into being a mom. Now, I only know the Jen from Cincinnati, and I see you show up so much in your community. And I think it's a really great story to share with people how, like, how you've decided to use your talents and your passions, some for profit, some for not, whatever. But tell us more about how you got involved in the community and how you have been able to intertwine what you love to do.
Yeah, well, when we moved to Cincinnati, I joined Kinderbelt, which we talked about before, and it's a nonprofit raising money for the Children's Hospital. But what really drew me in was it's 50 women in our community. And as somebody that's just moving here, it was like a really great way to meet people.
Yeah, that's why I joined too.
Yeah. So, and everyone's in it to win it. Like, everybody's there to, like, participate. And at the time, so I gave it a few years, sort of like just watching in the back, just being a participant and doing my lion's share of the work. But then I started getting more involved in decorating and styling and helping plan their fundraisers. My first one was that I really got involved in was a fashion show downtown.
Oh yeah, I went to that one. Yeah,
where we had the drag queen.
It was perfect. So I was like, okay,
but we that was so major because it was never an event like that. It was like totally out of the box, and took it downtown, which usually it's local.
Yeah,
so that was a big deal.
It was awesome. That event was huge.
It was huge, and we had shopping. I mean, we had a lot of dynamics there. Then. So I just started really liking that, and it's a give back. So I it was something that could fit into my lifestyle. It wasn't like I was working, but it was giving me that satisfaction that I needed, I think.
And I think, you know, like when I think about people who are on fundraising committees, people who are on PTO, people who are volunteering in the classroom, you may not be contributing to the income of your home, but you are contributing to your community. Sure. And that is so important. The world literally runs and because these people like you volunteer your time and your energy. And I think that like is so important for people to realize the worth that exists in the stuff that you do. Like, we just had a friend literally like find out that there was a local school that is that has a community that is pretty low income. And so a lot of the people in the community are low on coats, and it's like 5 degrees here. So she got 50 coats, just collected 50 coats and ran them down there. Like, this is the little kind of stuff that literally makes the community turn. So I think it's so awesome that you were able to raise your kids, but also invest your time in such a meaningful way.
And then, I mean, I get such a thrill out of the planning. I like to say styling an event, because when you think about planning, you think about like the logistical side of things.
Yeah.
That I can do too, but I really love like the styling of the event. And with Kindervelt, and I do a few other ones too, but if you can do an event where you want people to come back, if you can make an event so unique and so special that people want to come back, that's how you're going to raise more money.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that this might be jumping ahead, but that
good.
is sort of my style of event, where I like to like bring people in and like create almost like a set. Like, for example, we had a Western one you went to that one, right?
That one was so fun.
And, you know, I like to have all the senses at these parties so that you walk in and you feel immersed into whatever it is that the theme is. So we had Western, so we had props and fencing and Western band. We had barbecue food. And then I even love to have a smell, like a scent, so you almost feel completely immersed.
Yep. We're sitting here with a lavender candle right now, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Yes. I just think, and you know, you walk in and you're immediately like, okay, and it's relaxing and everyone's having a good time. Everyone came in theme with the outfit. And
what scent did you use for the Western one?
So it was I found it in Colorado, because I get so inspired by traveling and seeing things. So I was in Colorado at a random store, and it was a tobacco and leather.
No way.
And it was like, it wasn't even a candle, it was like an incense. And so I put them kind of all throughout the space, but you could really smell it. It was like, in a good way, it wasn't overwhelming, but
I love that.
All the senses. So this year we're doing Havana nights, and that's going to be kind of a fun one too.
Oh my God, that's going to be so fun. But I think it's like, you know, I think you do such a great job of, like you said, creating an experience, because, you know, people, of course, are invested in the cause, but at the end of the day, they're also paying to come to an event and have an experience. And they want to, you know, it's got to be worth their time. People are getting sitters, all the things, and they're getting dressed up. They're donating their time, their money, their energy, and they want to come have a good time. And your events always bring people back, because they are amazing. Well, literally. Oh my God, that's too funny with the tobacco scent. Yeah. I grew up on a horse farm. And so like when I smell tack, it's just like instantly, I'm like, I'm home.
That sends to amazing things for your memories.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, I think one of my big takeaways from this is that like you have always, you know, for as reserved and sort of mild tempered as you are very much the boss of your life, and you are choosing your own moments. Like the glamour moment happened to you, but you hit the ground running and you found yourself a new job. You leaned in for a raise and you made a position that you found something that you absolutely love what you do. Then you want to lean into a mom, but you still love to give back to the community. So you lean in there. Like there's so many pivots that happened to you and that you made for you. And I think that like being unapologetic for how people want to show up in life and like what you should quote unquote do versus what's on your heart is so important for women.
Oh, I totally agree. I definitely think I like go through life in all ways, like with my friends, with my parenting style, as sort of a like a step back, and I don't try to force anything to happen. I just, because the best things come from like almost if you're surprised. It's like if you almost like set yourself up to be disappointed, that's never going to work out for you.
And I think that is so important because so many of us, myself so much included, I just like push and push and push to make things happen because we've all been raised that like the harder you work, the more it happens.
Yes.
When actually like you can actually just go through life and let it flow.
Yeah.
Feeling sad just thinking about that. That feels so good. Okay, so let's talk about how Have a Ball started, because there are some beautiful moments within your family. There's lightness, there's dark, there's all sorts of stuff. So, and this beautiful business has been created from it. So take us through that.
Well, and back to the like, let it go, let it flow, because one night I was like, I think I just kind of want to start an Instagram page and like just put up something, like a place where I could almost like keep my event pictures. So I just did it, and I said, I'm going to call it Have a Ball. And my friends the next day saw it. I said, I didn't know you were starting a business. I said, neither did I. I'm not actually starting a business.
Like you're like, whoopsie-doo, I started a business.
So I had this Instagram page, and I've been kind of noodling on how to like put all these thoughts together on an Instagram page. But while all that was going on in 2021, my father-in-law, well, I should back up. So I married into like a really fun family. The last name is Bahl, Bahl. So there we so many quirks around the last name. And but I'll never forget when I met Jeff's family in New York City for the first time. You know, well, one thing funny too, I had like no money in my pocket, and we lived like 100 streets away from each other. So I took the bus, and it took forever. I think I was like an hour late.
Oh my God, that's amazing. You're like, sorry to meet you for the first time.
Hi, so nice to meet you. I'm an hour late. I couldn't afford the taxi. So anyway, so we go to dinner, and at this really nice Italian restaurant, and Jeff goes to the bathroom, and his mom's like, guys, I have something. She passes out these like glow in the dark mouth guards because Jeff played football in college and is obsessed with football. So she said, put these in, and when he comes out, we're going to sing happy birthday. And we're like, happy birthday.
In this like really nice restaurant in New York City. Oh my God.
Oh my God, this is amazing. I'll never forget this dinner. Like something so simple like that. And Jeff was, so embarrassed, but acted like that was like very common. Like, oh, Mom, and I was like, oh my God, I love this family.
Oh,
and so
cool.
Going forward, like there were a lot of those little moments that we share together. He's one of four, and sister, and we're all similar age, so we did do a lot of stuff together.
That's really cool.
So in 2021, his dad, who was basically the ringleader of getting people together, had a stroke, and we found out like this was like 3 days before Christmas that he had 2 big brain tumors, and they basically said, you got months. And God. I will never forget, because it was right around Christmas that I was hosting Christmas Eve. I thought all I knew what to do in this very stressful moment was, we're making this the best fucking Christmas.
I love that.
And
yep.
I said, everybody put on your dress, put on your fancy clothes, and I'm going to set the nicest table, and we're going to have his lasagna, and we're going to listen to his music, and we're going to play or burn his candle and do all the things. And we had the best time. Like we had the best time. And even though it was heavy and we knew what was looming, like the fact that, a beautiful setting and great conversation and dressing up kind of got us out of our heads. And
I love that. And it turned it truly into like, let's make this count.
Let's make this count. And then for the next 9 months, we made everything count. So we had the Bengals were going to the Super Bowl. This was a big deal for us.
Yeah,
so
totally.
We had over the top Bengals parties. There's pictures of all of us. Like I said, wear your most ridiculous Bengals outfit. I got like hundreds of balloons, and we had these huge parties. We stayed at the house because we couldn't go to the games, but we, because Bill was doing treatment at the time. And so we made it all count. And it was just like a way to make that time.
Did he love it?
He loved it. And we all did. It was like therapy for everybody.
Yeah.
And then, as it got to kind of towards the end, he and I talked quite a bit about having a celebration of life. So he wanted it to be a party. And I thought, that's so fitting, like, because he was a big personality. But I also thought you should celebrate the end of your life. I've never been to a celebration of life.
Right. They call it that, but it's so sad.
Yeah. And no doubt it wasn't. But so when he passed, he has his beloved farm. So, and we would go to this ranch. So I set this pavilion to look like his farm. I brought in like farm tables and and it looked like you were sitting in his cabin, more or less. But we're talking 700 people.
700 people showed up, and you're like, you know what? I'll just set a celebration of life for 700. No problem.
In 2 weeks, no big deal.
I can only imagine how cathartic it was, though.
It was how I got through it. I don't know. No one else in the family, that wasn't necessarily important. It was important to them. They didn't know that they needed it,
Right. They didn't know that they needed couches and tables and fenceware and trains and
they didn't
all the little, and the Budweiser details.
And all the things, and the music. We had a playlist. But I did kind of like farm out to I knew that engaging the siblings was going to be important getting through this time. So somebody made a playlist, and somebody made a fun Budweiser sign, and somebody.
I love that.
Then I lost my train of thought. So
that's all right.
Yeah. So we did the celebration of life, and so many people came up to me and said, that was beautiful. Like, that was so incredible. Like, I want to do that. I want to have that can I hire you for when my husband dies?
You're like, nope,
I'm not getting into that business.
Not getting into that business.
But you two can do it. And I thought, I'm going to post this and just sort of say like, hey, by the way, don't forget about this party.
Yeah. I loved that. And I think like what you really were able to do in like, all of us have been through really dark stages, and like your father-in-law, who was beloved to you and to these kids that he raised and to his wife, has terminal brain cancer or tumors, and you guys were able to look for the beauty and focus on the beauty. And like, that doesn't mean that times weren't awful and sad. And like, you can't just like ignore grief. Grief is a real deal. Sure. But the fact that you were able to like go through this and focus on what is beautiful and celebrate those things and bring those connections together. And that I love that. And I feel like this translates a lot for a lot of people. In those darker moments, you learn something that actually transforms your life. And so coming out of this, how did you get into table setting?
Well, when he was like, when we were going through all of this, I kept thinking after the big celebration of life, I thought, well, I have something here. If people are like saying, hey, that was amazing, I was like, I think I've got something here.
You definitely do.
But I don't want to do fundraisers. I don't think that fits. Not that I don't want to. I just don't think it fits in I have 4 kids and a puppy and a very like fun husband I want to be around. So
yeah,
I can't do fundraisers. That's weekends and nights. But I do love like setting. I could do smaller things. I could do smaller tables.
Yep.
So it just kind of evolved, and as we're talking, like this whole thing, it's like a brand new.
Yeah.
This whole like have a ball, it's all brand new. So I threw out there like on Instagram, hey, I'll set a couple Thanksgiving tables, thinking nobody would pick me up. I sold out like instantly. I thought, oh, okay. So I set some Thanksgiving tables, some New Year's Eve tables, and the feedback was awesome. So I think I'm just going to keep going with it.
I think you absolutely should. So like from a business perspective, you were able to, there's such a need, and you listen to your customers where everyone's like, God, this is beautiful. I want you to create these experiences for me. But then what I loved is that you kept it simple. You're like, nope, this is what I want my life to look like. I want to be mom as primary job. I love my husband and want to spend time with him. I need the flexibility in my day. And so what is the version of this great idea that I could do? And it's setting tables. And I think that is so unique and so awesome. And like such a great thing for women to hear is that like, just because someone is asking something of you, you get to decide how you show up. And that's exactly what you did, which I think is literally amazing. Okay. So what tips do you have for making every moment count when you're setting tables or entertaining?
Well, you don't have to do much. Like, and that's just it. Like, you don't have to break the bank. You don't have to go get a $300 like flower arrangement. Like, I don't think about who you're setting it for and what is their intention. Like, say, my husband's birthday was in September, and he loved this. I can't believe I'm telling this story. He loves Nickelback.
Oh my God, I remember seeing this on Instagram.
And I thought, well, I'm going to set, like, he doesn't want a gift, so I'm going to set a Nickelback party, tablescape. So I went to Party City and I just bought like black and silver, and some blow up guitars. And when he came home from hockey with our kids, I had this table and I had Nickelback blaring in the on the Sonos. And it was hilarious. It was the best moment. Like it didn't cost much. So my point in that is like, think outside the box. So you don't have to just have like beautiful linens.
Right.
You have to be like that. It doesn't have to be so formal. Like, make it fun. Party City could make an awesome table. It's just more about like the love that you put into the table that I think makes it. A table can be like a blank canvas.
It literally is a blank canvas. Like I love. Okay, so you came over today with 2 books that look adorable and are on color scheme, a little arrangement of flowers that just absolutely softens the table, a lavender candle so that we can both be chill and calm, rosé, and these adorable, but they're plastic, thank goodness, wine glasses. I'm like, and the most hilarious napkins. If I ever sound inspirational, one of us is drunk. Oh my God, so good. But like, those are the most perfect touches. So those are my brand colors.
I didn't know that.
Well, you're killing it. Rosé, I absolutely love. The napkins are on theme. And it's just like, it's the little bit of effort. Actually, that's a lot of effort.
No,
you know what I mean?
That took me like 2 seconds.
It's the little touches. Like, so you can go around your house and just grab things from off the shelf and put them on the table.
Exactly.
I love how you were saying that when you set a table, like let's say you're hosting Christmas Eve, you'll set the table up for days in advance and just kind of like tweak and noodle and just have fun with it, right?
Yeah. Well, also, if you have the ability to do that with time, it totally alleviates the stress of having to do it the day of, because sometimes you're cooking, sometimes you're going to pick up the catering, the day of. So entertaining should be really fun.
Yes.
And you should enjoy it too. And that's something I like to like tell my friends. Like, when you have people over, you don't want to be busy, because that makes your guests uncomfortable. You like, people are watching, as if the bride is on the dance floor, everyone's on the dance floor. Like, if you're sitting at the table enjoying yourself, maybe getting a little drunk yourself, like then people will stay. But if you're going to get up and serve the dessert and then you're going to get up and take the plates away, like it's going to, people are not, they're going to think, oh, it's time to go.
Yeah. Right. They're like, I'm tired of watching Jen work, so I'm just going to wrap this up.
Another thing like that I do to wrap people to stay at the table, a lot of times I'll put a question under their plate, and it's there if I need it, and it's not there if I don't need it. Like, so say like you have 5 couples over and maybe the flow is just not, the conversation is just geared to all the guys or something. I'll be like, okay, everybody pick up your plate. We've got a question.
Ooh,
and you go around.
What's an example question?
Oh gosh. Well, it depends on the group, but I love doing it for girls nights.
Yeah.
Because then you can really get into stuff. But I don't know, it could be like, if you had a superpower, what would it be? Or, you know, then everybody has to answer it. And the things you can talk about and learn that way.
I think that's awesome. What a great way to get to know people that you already know too. And like those just little unexpected surprises and touches. I think that, and like just the thoughtfulness. But I think you and I both love this kind of stuff. Like I want to store buy everything. I really like to bake, but I don't like to cook. I know you like to cook, but we both have 4 kids. So when we entertain, like time is of the essence, but we both love to entertain. So like you have your own way of doing it. I buy everything from the store and just put it on all sorts of pretty platters and decorate with things around, and do not make it look nearly as good as yours. But that's the part that I enjoy. Yes. But I do know, like my sister-in-law loves to cook, but she's not super into decor. Like she lets her kids set it up, which is also really adorable. But that. Like, so your business is perfect for those kinds of people who are like, I either am like time strapped and don't have time to set the table, or this is just genuinely not the part that I enjoy, but I absolutely love what it does for the atmosphere. Right. Let's bring in Jen, and she's just going to style my table, lickety split, and it's going to be perfect.
And I never thought somebody would actually pay for that service.
But here you are making your own position again.
But I think like too, like people don't realize that you could rent a crate of wine glasses. Who wants to clean wine glasses at the end of the day? No, frankly, they're like $1 to rent. So, you know,
that's amazing. I had no idea. I thought that would be so expensive.
No, it's like if you're hosting Thanksgiving for like 20 people, you rent your stuff. Like you go and rent it, and then you put it all in crates. You never wash it. No, they come pick it up. It is such a time saver. I mean, a couple $100 and you've got an entire table
that you never have to clean up. You're basically paying for the cleaning crew.
Yeah. So these are the things I try to implement. I'm like, you know, do you want to be doing dishes?
Right.
You know? All right, let's rent those, or let's get plastic, or, you know.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. I also loved, and like we both set kids' tables the same way. Okay. So let's say you're hosting Thanksgiving and you've got this beautiful setup. What are you doing at the kids' table?
So I'm going to try to find a way to make the kids' table look like the grown-ups table, but with completely kid-proof things. So
yes,
I'll get back to Party City, but plastic, like
this episode is sponsored by Party City, but sponsored by not.
Or like, I'll do a paper cloth.
Me too.
Or a paper placemat, anything that like, I know I also like to be a reuser too. So anything you can kind of toss out at the end of the night for the kids.
Yep.
Because 1, they don't appreciate the china and the work that you're doing to clean it.
Yes.
And then 2, I love to add like some sort of element of activity to keep them seated there. So whether it's like a coloring page or make a bracelet, or even a game that they could play that keeps them sitting so that they're not running around.
I love that. And those are the moments like you think about with your cousins when we were little, like these are the moments that like they're sitting around the table and having their own fun, and parents, you know, they're entertained so that you can actually sit and talk to your family and be connected versus everyone just chasing their kids around, which I mean,
which is ultimately what's going to happen.
But at least we get at least 5 moments. 5 minutes of absolute pure bliss and peace.
Your question under your plate.
Yeah, right. Answer the question under your plate. Oh, that's so awesome. Okay. So I love that. And then also like, I thought you had a great suggestion too. So like, let's say you are going out to a restaurant with a bunch of girls, like 5 girls, and it's one of their birthday. Like what's just, besides like, oh, I brought you this present, like what's just a little surprise that you do?
Yeah. I mean, you could even bring like, there's so many funny napkins out there. Yeah. Like bring a funny napkin and put it around. It makes everyone chuckle. Or I do have a girlfriend that brings happy birthday, like crowns to every birthday party.
Oh, that's adorable.
But yeah, like I think just even a simple touch, go to the store, go to the grocery and grab a thing of flowers and just plop it right in the middle.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, just something so simple that will make them remember. And we had a girlfriend's birthday a couple weeks ago, and we had the private room at National Exemplar, like right down the street.
Yeah.
It's a very basic room, like wooden walls. And
it's just wooden.
I thought, well, I'll just bring some stuff from my studio down and decorate the table just to make it. We sat in there for 5 hours. Like we had candles going. We had these lavender candles.
Oh my God, I love that.
And it didn't take much, but it just made it so much more memorable.
Okay, so you said studio. My ears just completely perked up. Tell me about this studio and like just real quick logistically how this works. So let's say I'm having 15 girls over and I've got the dining room for it. I've got the space because I'm so fortunate that like I got my grandparents' dining set. So like I have a nice big dining table and it's so fun to sit and share those memories around something that I've grown up with. But I am strapped for time. How do I work with you? And tell me about this magical studio.
Well, the studio is actually my father-in-law's old garage.
Which, like, can we just pause for that moment for a second? Like, talk about full circle.
Oh,
and I bet he absolutely loves that.
Oh, I know. I've always think he's probably like watching. Like
he's definitely watching.
Hysterical. But it's not heated. It doesn't have a restroom, but it's a studio.
Yeah.
Nonetheless. And it's detached from my mother-in-law's house. So I don't have to be bothering her all the time. But
I'm sure she loves the company, but yes.
I think so too. It's twofold. Like if you were to say, I want to decorate my own, but I don't want to go buy a bunch of stuff. Hey, I'll call Jen and see if I could come over and borrow. So I'll give you I've done this a few times now. I'll give you a bin and you can kind of shop my shelves, take what you want. I'll charge you for the bin of stuff. And then, you bring it back to me. Or, you give me, DM me or give me a text and just say that you'd like me to come set your table and I'll bring whatever I have. And I think I've kind of made it so that my fee includes the things that are in my studio. So I'll just
as they should. And I hope you're charging for your time.
Yeah, that's something I'm working. Yes,
you need to charge for your time.
That is a very uncomfortable thing.
I know, but you're worth
get around. But we're getting there. I have been. Yes,
I love that. Could you ever do, or do you do like virtual styling? So let's say like someone's in Colorado, a friend of yours is in Colorado and they're like, I want to set a table. Can you be like, okay, here's some links or here's a mood board or?
Yeah. So a friend of mine from Atlanta reached out and she wanted me to help her with her Thanksgiving table. So I sent her some mood boards and she liked what I had. And I ended up putting a box together from stuff from my studio.
Oh my gosh.
Wrapping it all up and mailing it to her.
Yeah.
And she set her table with my stuff. I gave her a couple links to buy a few things.
Yeah.
And, charged for it. And, she shipped it back to me. And that was that. It was great.
See, look at you. Literally crushing it. So this is another seriously great example of like, if you have something that is on your heart, it is there for a reason. It can be for volunteer, which is sort of your big event space, and that is just because you're passionate about that and you love giving back to your community. But then it can also be sort of this side hustle where you're like, I think I have something here. I have this extra space. I've collected all these things in my own table and I found a way to monetize something that I absolutely love and connects in a way to people that I care about. And then you're just going to see where it goes, but also protecting the life that you want.
Yes.
And that, you guys, is literally the ticket. This is how you do it.
Right.
And like, I'm sure there are bumps and bruises and mistakes and all those things along the way. But what I also love is that like, this really like, this is so who you are. And this has obviously been like a trajectory for your whole life is you're like setting conference room tables and you're like, look, I brought China. You were the one and only to have ever done that. But I think, these moments with your father-in-law and just understanding the bigger picture and what it really, like you felt what it means to create something that feels special and the value in that. Yes. And I feel like being so emotionally connected to the work that you do makes it so fun and so meaningful and joyous. And then again, look at your kids watching you create your own path and do something that like, I guess I'm going to call unconventional just because conventional for our generation is like you go to work, you go to the corporation, you do your thing, you stick to your career, you work hard, you grow and you retire.
Right.
But you've paved your own path. And I think that's really, really awesome.
Yeah,
and now I know how to style a table. Exactly. Oh, this is so great. Okay. One of the things that we were talking about before we hopped on camera and that you had sent over as we were just kind of kicking notes back and forth that I absolutely love, which I think is so relevant for this audience, is tell me about how life after 40 has surprised you. And like, what are you loving about life after 40?
Well, to be honest, I kind of thought after 40 was going to be downhill. I don't know why I had that in my mind.
I don't know. They call it like over the hill. I don't know if that's supposed to be 40, but midlife. I don't know. They say the rest is downhill. I thought the same thing.
Like I had some girlfriends out to Colorado for my 40th birthday. And I remember being like, this is like the best weekend of my life. We had so much fun. But I also kept thinking, it's downhill after this.
Yeah.
And then I came back from that trip, and that's a couple years ago. Things have only gotten better. And I think it's because you finally like find a way to like hone in on yourself. For me, my kids are a little older. They don't need so much like of me physically.
Yes.
So being able to like really tap into like becoming more healthy myself and my friendships. I feel like we're all of us in our 40s, I feel like we're in the best place we've ever been. Like,
I think so
and
too.
watching my friends grow over these last 10 years, like I can see they are happier and in a better spot.
I think just in our community, I've seen so many of us pop up and start our own things.
Yes. It's so inspiring.
I mean, we have side hustlers. We have people who are doing this as their sort of full-time career, but also like in a part-time capacity because they're protecting the time and energy that they want to spend. We have people changing careers. We have people pausing careers. And it's just, there's something beautiful about 40 where like you've experienced enough in life to know to not mess around anymore.
Right.
And to know your value. Hopefully, that's what I really want everyone to see. And that then you kind of like, this is what Write Your Own Story is all about. You get to pick your path. You get to set your boundaries. You get to decide what you want your life to be like, and you get to roll with it. And I think that's so awesome. So you mentioned one thing that around self-care. So, okay, let's not minimize the fact that you are a mom of 4. You have a very active husband and you are very involved in the community. And oh, by the way, you just started a business. How do you take care of yourself? And did you have to learn the hard way that that's a priority?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. Samesies.
Mm-hmm. I think we've talked about this quite a bit, but I think we're both on a journey to kind of overcome some anxiety. Some, I struggled in a lot of ways my whole life with panic attacks.
Same.
But nobody would know because I'm so like quiet about it.
Yeah. Why do we all feel the need to be so quiet when our body physically feels like we're dying? I was like, when I had my panic attacks, I would rather sit there and die than raise my hand and say, I need help.
Like if you're on an airplane or something.
Oh God, yes. You're like, here's a panic attack.
Here my kids are watching and I'm supposed to be this like, everything's fine. It's just a few bumps.
Right. And you're like,
I'm internally like crushing myself.
Oh, okay. Well, I love you for saying that out loud because that is really brave. But it is, I'm right here with you, panicking on the plane or in the bathroom or you're not alone.
But I think I was like, enough. And I, during COVID, I listened to a lot of, well, actually I had like there's got to be a podcast about this somewhere. And so I pulled up one, it's called The Anxiety Slayer. And cool. It resonated with me. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm not alone here. This is a thing.
This is so important for women to realize they are not alone.
Yeah, truly. I had no idea what I was feeling was actually something other people were feeling.
Yeah.
So after learning that, I was like, all right, they were giving tools of ways to help. So then from there, I went and in addition to like my general practitioner, I went to a holistic doctor and she put me on like great supplements and great vitamins. And then also doing acupuncture once a month for like kind of stress management.
Yes,
so
please.
All these things, and I love to do like hot yoga or paddleboard or things that are just like peaceful and quiet.
Yeah.
And I love my quiet time.
Can we talk about, first of all, I just want to make sure that soaks in for everyone that like, I think so much for many of the 40 somethings that I know, men and women alike, all we want is peace.
Yeah.
And I think you're so intentional about how you find your peace to, like find the right doctor, to go down the sort of non-traditional path. Holistic medicine is awesome. And I love that you marry it with traditional medicine and you're just kind of tinkering until you find what works for you. And you've learned that, you weren't a super sporty spice growing up, but you love to paddleboard, which is badass, by the way, and hot yoga, which is so hard. How do we not all die in hot yoga, but we do it and we love it. And I see you there and we both love it. Yeah. I'm like, who knew I was so flexible? I'm not, I'm just 1,000 degrees.
Exactly. I'm just trying to get through this.
Just trying to get through this. But I think it's amazing that you're so intentional about that. And I think it's so important for those of us in our 40s. And please, anyone listening before your 40s, do this before you.
Oh my God. If I could go back and tell my childhood self, like figure this out, because it's so releasing. Like it just takes like it's so cliche, but it takes an entire weight off once you realize and recognize that, okay, something's not right. But once you fix it, like you can do anything. I was like, oh my God, I got a new lease on life here. Like things look different.
And I like, don't we all deserve that? Don't we all deserve to know how to find our own peace and to find that new lease on life?
I don't know. I can't explain exactly what it was that made me do it, but I had enough, I think.
Had enough. I love that.
That's that. And then, I love a long steam shower.
Yeah, right. Yes, please. I call it a half an hour shower of power.
I love it. And I'll write notes on the steam.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah. And then so much so, Jeff gave me for Christmas, he gave me these notes that you put in the steam shower. They're like waterproof with a waterproof pencil.
That's so cool. Have you tried it?
No, I haven't tried it yet. It's still back to my like writing in the steam. But I don't know, and bringing some rosé in there sometimes. But
Yep.
You just got to find you got to find what works for you.
I love that. And I think that that is like, unfortunately, so many of us have to learn the hard way where like you see hard things or you experience hard things yourself and you realize you have no choice but to take care of yourself. But that is one of the most beautiful lessons in your 40s. Take care of yourself. And it's actually like amazing. And to carve out the time for that. And it's not like, we're also lucky we don't have toddlers anymore.
Yes.
So like we do have the time where our kids are at school to be like, okay, I need to go paddleboard or I need to sit and breathe or I'm going to sit in the steam shower. And I love that. And that I think also probably within those quiet moments is where you can really listen to your heart and be like, hey, I've got something here.
Yes. Yeah,
you can't hear that amongst the noise of the head and the world and whatever.
So
I think that's amazing. And one thing also that I have learned from you, both in prepping for this and now when I reflect on our friendship and how we've interacted, is you're so intentional. And I think that, can you share the story of like, so you mentioned your girls' trip, how like you really set the intention for that trip with your friends and like kind of set that boundary to be like, this is what I want out of it. Can you please be a part of this? And
yeah,
I think it's really cool. So
for my 40th birthday, I took like 12 girlfriends out to Colorado, one of my favorite places in the world, because in Colorado, you can really you can get outside and kayak and paddleboard. And in the summer, I love Colorado in the summer. But I told my girlfriends that let's make this more of a retreat for us. Let's like revisit ourselves. Like we could sit around and talk about our husbands and our kids till we're blue in the face. We can do that at the bar down the street.
Yep.
But on this trip, I'm going to sign us up for kayaking and paddleboarding. I'm going to sign us up for spas. And, we walked the mountain, we hiked.
I love that.
We went out dancing. And yeah, we did definitely talk about, stuff going on at home, but we didn't have great cell service in the house. And it magically kind of like people were kind of like off their phone. And maybe you're on your phone in your room, but like in the open spaces, we were talking and we were like getting better, like doing something like kayaking or paddleboarding that we hadn't done before. And they really like respected that I had asked them to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, you can talk to your husband and your kids. I'm not trying to be like
right.
that,
but you're like, can we just set the intention to like grow a little bit on this trip and
yeah.
just leave all the baggage at home?
Oh, so good. I love a girls' trip, but this one was different.
That is so.
We did yoga, and a lot of them never do yoga.
Right. And it's like, sure. And like, I love the intention of just kind of like stepping outside of your comfort zone in like a non-stressful way. You're like, I'm on a girls' trip, never kayaked and never yoga, but here we go because I'm here to celebrate Jen and I want to try it. And I think that that is so awesome. And I think, you're intentional with your time for how you've protect your time with your family and how you want to show up. You're intentional with your peace. You're intentional with how you show up as a friend. I love how you had mentioned in a previous conversation that like you show up as a friend, and you're very honest about this, which I think is beautiful. Like, you're like, I'm not the friend who's going to call and text you every day. No. But man, oh man, if shit hits the fan, I am your girl.
For sure.
When shit hit the fan for me, you are my girl. You showed up, of course, with like a cute basket full of like cheese and wine, and you checked on me all the time. And when I would sit in negotiating meetings for my parenting schedule, scared out of my mind because I didn't know how often I was going to see my kids anymore, I would picture friends like you sitting in front of me. This is so ridiculous. I can't believe I'm sharing this. It must be the rosé. But literally, I would picture you and other girls that stood behind me when I felt like I couldn't stand. And I was like, make them proud.
Oh, I love it.
And
That's
it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And like, so like the impact that you have in your intentionality is so awesome. And so don't ever do anything but be you because you're pretty amazing.
Thank you.
So I think that's awesome. But again, 40s are awesome.
40s are awesome.
My mom always said 40s were her favorite decade. And I feel like she was the only woman from that generation to say that. But I think she's like, my kids aren't like relying on me so much, but they still love me.
Right.
And I'm finally finding myself again. And we got a little space to breathe. And isn't that a gift?
It's such a gift. And we hear from a lot of, at least I feel like I follow some ladies on social who are 40s and 50s who are embracing this stage in their life too, and that's empowering as well.
Oh, let's talk about who you like to follow. I know that you're also, what I love about you is that you are very much so inspired from the world around you, where your feet are, where your eyes are looking.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, I think it's mentorship, and we go, gosh, going back to the beginning of your career is so important, and social is so noisy, but also can be so beautiful for inspiration.
For sure.
So what women inspire you?
Well, I love I think India Hicks, we both got to hear her speak.
Oh my
this
God,
year.
she was
She's
so good.
Funny. Oh my gosh, she was hysterical. But her free flow to like the way she kind of moves through the world, I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
She had some really great tips. She doesn't take herself too personally too literally. And she, she said she ripped some bed sheets out of her closet for a tablecloth. And I thought, oh my God, I love
she
you.
literally, didn't she use a duvet?
Cover.
Like a duvet cover. She'll grab stuff from all around her house.
Yeah.
And like she shows up at this like, luncheon where everyone's in their dresses and their things. And she's an actual stand-up comedian.
Yeah, she's so funny.
She was so funny. She made the room so warm.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like that's what she does with her tables.
Yeah. I love
she's
her.
also a badass.
She's a total badass.
Yeah.
And then, I love Molly Sims, and I think I love her because she talks a lot about her 40, 50 years, how she's loving these times in her life.
Cool.
And I think that's cool.
I need to follow her.
She's
more.
got a great podcast. And then I think we have a mutual love for Sarah Blakely.
Yes.
Who is the founder of Spanx. And I just love her feed because she has like a lifestyle that's similar to mine.
Yes, she does.
Her husband is Jesse Etzler, and he is a replica of my husband, and they're totally opposite. And Jeff and I are totally opposite, but her banter on it is just incredible. I love it.
I mean, those two men could not be more similar.
Yeah. Like she's like eating, a salad with fries and a glass of wine, which is my favorite meal too.
Same salad, fries, wine,
always fries, and
always fries.
Our husbands are out like running like triathlons while we're sitting inside. But I love that. I used to fight that a little bit that we were different and, I got to be more like, no, I am me and he is he. And we are just like,
that is the beauty of your relationship. And like the fact that like you so embrace all of Jeff's energy and all, because he really he has so much love to give and so much energy to give and is so passionate. And like, he is just, as you are the quiet one in the room and sitting and observing, Jeff is the energy and the bowl and the china shop in the room and the most really intentional, best.
He's the most intentional person.
He is the most intentional person ever. Like he is a good egg. He's got a good heart.
Yeah.
But you let him be all the things.
And I love to we just joke about it. He calls me sloth in the most loving possible way because I'm a professional relaxer.
Yes.
And,
that's amazing. I have a sloth in this family. One of my twins, we call him slow-mo.
Yeah. Although I'm not slow, I'm meaning like that I am always moving, like doing and doing, but like I love to relax. Sarah Blakely is somebody that I'd love to actually meet one day.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Oh my God. I absolutely she inspires me in so many ways. She is so unapologetically her quirky, beautiful, incredibly smart, driven, family-oriented self. Like she really is so multifaceted and like embraces the mess of life and also is incredibly resilient and tough as nails and just gets it done and doesn't give up on her vision, which I think is,
love her.
She's amazing and she's hilarious. And just super real. I've actually tried to make I have a squirter for the pancakes to try and make all the shapes. She's definitely better, but I'm not giving up on trying because I think it's super fun. And my kids love to try. And it's like this awesome family moment that I'm like, thank you for inspiring me to start a business, but also thank you for inspiring me for little moments at home. It's pretty amazing. Okay. What else did I want to? Okay. So last question that I have for you is what advice do you have for those who are coming up in the world behind you? So whether it be the younger generation or just people who are even 5 years younger than you, what have you lived and learned maybe the hard way or just principles for your life that you would love the next generation to know?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that you can't please everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something I had to come to terms with later in life, which I wish I had figured out a long time ago. That not everyone's going to understand you. Not everyone's going to get you. And that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
So that is something.
I think that is very generational. I think so many of us feel that way, that your value is not how much others see you or I don't even know. You want to make everyone feel good, of course. Right. That cannot be at the sacrifice of yourself.
Right. Don't want to be a chameleon to the conversation or, you just be you. And frankly, when we were talking about this, whenever I got a little, am I enough? Do I have enough to say? Oh, but just be you. Just do you. It doesn't matter.
Yep. And you have so much to say. We literally ran the camera out because we were having so much fun gabbing as girlfriends about life.
I know. I love it.
I think it's a great thing.
Okay. So that, and then the other,
one of the things that I love that you have talked about and taught me about is sort of this disconnect unplug,
unplug,
and like let the world around you be your muse, not through your phone.
Yeah. And I think that, there's so much like copycat design, copycat, back in the day before we didn't have technology, like you were an artist because you were inspired by what you were seeing around you. And
So
I'm not saying I don't use my phone for inspiration, but usually like if I'm doing an event, like I'm usually inspired by something I saw in my daily life or on a trip or something.
Yeah.
And then I'll use the internet to kind of help boost some of those ideas.
Sure.
But I want my kids and I want the girls below us to also think about that too. Like be inspired beyond the, social media world that you're constantly looking at. And I don't know how that will work. It's a whole different world we're in right now.
It is. But I think that's so, like, I was having a conversation with someone that's so important to me recently, and they were saying they had this great realization that like the earth has so much to share and can show off, and like you just have to open your eyes, and it's like the sunset, the sunrise. It's like, watch this. I'm still here. This is still like a really beautiful place to be, not just through your phone and like all the cool transitions that you can make on a reel.
Yes.
But that's true. Like I also absolutely use the internet for inspiration, but really where like your heart catches on fire is around the world. I love that. And I think another thing that like you do a great job of is supporting people in hard times and embracing things that are hard, or maybe it's a mistake that you've made in your life, or like we can all learn from those lessons.
Yeah. That's what I wish we talked about a little bit more.
Yeah.
I see that kind of like it just in my world, that I think a lot of people are afraid to say what's going wrong, or
Yes.
with even in a room with girlfriends, and they're afraid to be judged, or they're afraid it's going to be like told to somebody else. But if you trust your people, like you should feel okay to tell them, hey, this is going on, and or here's how I problem solved. You might get something out of that.
Yeah.
I just think like for me, listening is learning, listening to what people say, listening to how they solved a problem with their kids or with their husband or with work is so invaluable. So just listening, and then not having to have the next big story or a bigger story. Just take something from what someone's saying.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think listening can be really hard because you've got other things in your head, or you don't want someone to feel alone, so you want to tell a similar story.
Yes.
But just to take it in and let people feel heard and not fix it for them, that's something I have a hard time with. But I think that that's beautiful because there is so much knowledge to be had and so much to give back to someone to just be heard. And I think as it relates to your table, you do such a great job of creating special moments and keeping tradition going in your family.
Yes, that is a huge part of all of this, is that that's just kind of at the house. I'm not setting these glamorous tables, but if it's a Tuesday night and no one has sports, I'm going to throw a cloth on the table and say, hey guys, we're going to eat at 6:30 or 5:30. And, we're just going to sit, because I feel like so many houses now are set up where you have the kitchen island and everyone eats at the island. I'm not saying that's bad. I have that too.
Yep.
But you got to remember sometimes we can't forget those traditions of like, sometimes you just need to put a cloth on the table to say, hey, this is the destination. This is where we're coming.
Yeah, we're going to gather. We're going to connect. Yes. I think and the fact that like you put in the effort to make it feel special sets the intention for everyone to show up and be present and make it intentional too.
Yep.
I think that's so good. And I think these are such lessons for everyone, from those who are 10 years behind us, who have toddlers running around and are not at the space to be able to do this right now, to know that like you can do little moments here and there, but don't put the pressure on yourself. Yeah. Live in the moments that you are, lean into wherever you are in life. But when you do get to come up for air, to be intentional about the people you spend time with, how you create spaces and how you show up. And I think you are such a great example with taking these moments of experiencing what you did with your father-in-law. What was his great quote that he used to always say?
Oh, he would say, he'd say, do what you say you're going to do. And this is something he would tell his kids, but I always thought it was quite interesting. And then do a little bit more, and then just do a little bit more. And I feel like that with tables too, or just life, like, I'll come over and I'll set your table, but I'm going to also do just like a smidge more. I might make a questionnaire or so, like just something a little more.
Or like you're coming over to record this podcast and now we have this like beautiful tablescape, and it's just like people so value that effort. And I know that that's such an expression of you. And I think that's so beautiful. Okay. So because we've run out of camera and all this stuff, I feel like we should wrap it up, but I could talk to you all day long. But I think what has been so special for me about this is how you have written your own story and really paved your own path, and that you are probably one of the more quiet, reserved, don't need to be the loudest person in the room, but you were very much in control of your life. And you are so intentional with how you show up as a mom and a friend and a wife and for yourself and how you care for yourself. And you've built this, you've created your own position yet again, where you're like, you know what? I don't want to be the event thrower, but I really find value in gathering around the table. And you've built this business model that is flexible for your life and serves your customers and connects to something that you just deeply enjoy and connects to your family and all the things that matter to you. Okay. If people want to work with you, how do they find you?
Well, you could follow me on Instagram. Have a Ball is my
and it's Instagram, BAHL, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, I love it. So they can send you a DM.
Yeah, no website or anything.
Yeah, you don't need one.
Yeah, I don't need to. Not that I don't need one, but I just not messing around with that quite yet. But yeah, just on Instagram. That's the only spot.
That's awesome. So if you're local in Cincinnati and you want to set a table or go source some things, or maybe even if you're farther away than Cincinnati and you need some inspo, I'm telling you, you got to go check out our Instagram page. It's absolutely beautiful. And Jen, I just want to say thank you for showing up. I know like talking on camera and talking about a business and talking about your life and talking about your accomplishments can be uncomfortable. And what did your mom say about you when you were little? I love this, that you're quiet and that you're observer.
Yeah, she said, but when Jen speaks, make sure you're listening because there's something in there you might want to hear. And then you're not going to hear from her for a long time because I'm just quiet. Right. I really process my thoughts.
Yes, you do. And so when you speak, it's so intentional. And I think that's one of the reasons why you reached out and you were like, hey, I don't know if this is what you're up to, but I would love to talk about what it means to make every moment count and how to have a ball because you're so passionate about it. And I know that that was big for you to be like, hey, I've got something to say for someone who likes to sit and observe.
Right.
And this has been so fun. I hope you've had fun too.
God, this is so fun.
And I just hope that everyone goes and checks out her page. And most importantly, getting back to the intention of this episode, I hope that you've been inspired to make every moment count, whether it be how you show up for yourself or your family or your work or how you carve your own path, make it count.
This was so fun.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for listening. If this inspired you and you want to share it with a friend, that would mean so much. All we want to do is really help women live their authentic life. That's what it means to write your own story in your life. I'm so grateful to have Jen's story. I think it resonates so well. And I know it will hit with you or with friends in your life. And I think it's really important to share these stories. So either tell someone about it, share it if you so feel like it. Follow Jen on Instagram, absolutely, because her stuff is beautiful. You'll absolutely be inspired. And maybe you can work with her too if you are so lucky.
Oh,
all right. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you next time. Well, that's the end of this episode, but promise me, you won't stop here with whatever it is you're feeling or dreaming about. I hope you leave today feeling empowered to live life just as you see fit. If this podcast was helpful to you, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. I genuinely just want to help women live the life they dream about. So if this type of content tracks with you, subscribe to this podcast or visit our website, writeyourOwnstory.co, to download digital courses or to grab a journal and a mug to just dream in and dream with. It's your life, lady. Do you. And just remember, I'm rooting for you and you've totally got this.